Books are a convenient package. They degrade gracefully as an analog medium. They operate without any other hardware or software needed. They can go out into the world on their own and find their ways to places you could never anticipate. You can burn books, but it's hard to censor them really, because they slip out and they're multiplied. And the book in multiple is very important to me for that reason. And they go into libraries and they go all kinds of funny places that I think of, when I was in China and I tried to Google Tibet from a web bar in Chengdu, and the Chinese government blocks Google, and Google goes along with that, to keep people from getting access to all that information. And it just seems to me that this electronic media is so easily censored and so easily blocked and manipulated by governments or businesses that it's not trustworthy in some way. Not that books are more trustworthy, but I find the book a more satisfying thing to make. I had made the shift using computers in my work fairly early on, but always as a way to make things, not as an end in themselves. I got interested in making websites, or some kind of web version of some book ideas. And I did it, and I thought it was a direction I was really going to pursue, but then something happened with me in interactive media, and I got frustrated with how it doesn't migrate forward. There used to be a program called HyperCard, and things made in HyperCard are no longer viewable unless you have an old Mac that runs a HyperCard stack. And I spent a lot of time developing a couple of these little sort of trial pieces, and it just seemed to me that I was throwing my time away, that I was making things that would be viewable for a few years and then they would sort of disappear. I just felt that the digital medium wasn't the kind of thing I wanted to make, because I wanted to make things that would last past my own lifetime. So I sometime by the late 90s gave up any interest in doing that as my main art form. I went to undergraduate school and studied photography. And during the time I was studying photography, I got really interested in finding ways to get my work to an audience outside the gallery situation. But I was interested in making groups of photographs and putting them together. There's a program called the Book Bus run by Visual Studies Workshop in Rochester, New York in the 1970s. And it was an old school bus that had been converted to sort of a library inside. And they would travel around to art campuses, art schools in the Northeast, and park for a couple of days and set up shop. And I walked up in there, and I was looking at all these books, and they made a point of trying to contextualize the work, that what they were showing was not reproductions of art, but original works of art that happened to be books. And that was the transformative moment for me. That was when I realized this was what I wanted to do. I got so interested in printing that when I left art school in 1980, I got a job as an intern at a place in Atlanta, Georgia that was printing artist books. And artist books is sort of the name we give to this work, where every aspect of the book is part of the art. And it was really interesting work. I got to learn a lot about how I wanted to make books, what books could do, all the different parts of it. And it was really during that period that I got interested in graphic design, because it was clear that that part of how books were made was an important part of the book. How you articulate the voice in the book comes out of all those elements. Purchase College in Purchase, New York, which had an Art of the Book program, which was split between the printmaking department and the graphic design department. And I worked with Warren Lear and Margot Lovejoy and Antonio Frasconi and Phil Zimmerman were kind of my major influences then. It was once I got a full-time teaching job that I think my work really started to mature and develop. And I got more involved at that point with the writing in the books. So I kind of went from photography to photography and graphic design to now photography, graphic design, and writing. And I think increasingly the writing is a bigger and bigger part to me. It's more and more important as the part that really pulls the book together. So I find teaching keeps me active. And it's always exciting to work with other people who are making work and see what's happening with them. And sometimes you get a little jolt of energy from other people as they discover things, and you see people rediscovering things. It's exciting. So it's always kind of energizing, even when it's exhausting.